Now, the first shipping container was invented by the late American businessman Malcolm McLean in 1956. His main aim was only to help with the international shipping of goods. He most likely did not think that these containers would become anything more than that. This week on Moolah Insider, we take a look at how and why shipping containers are increasingly becoming popular in building homes, schools, and even business premises. We'll also take you through how to identify the correct shipping container in terms of cost, size, and even quality, depending on what you want. My name is Margaret Wahito. The University of Nairobi has announced plans to increase school fees for postgraduate and self-sponsored students. The move, which continues to elicit debate among stakeholders, seeks to ease a cash crisis at the university attributed to a drop in private student enrollment. Fees for liberal arts, master courses like communication and MBA may go up to 600,000 shillings for a two-year program from an average of 270,000 shillings. The university also announced that it owes Kenya Revenue Authority close to 7.2 billion shillings. The Central Bank of Kenya has hinted the return of digital lenders reporting loan defaulters to the Credit Reference Bureau. Digital lenders were ordered to stop filing reports with CRB in April last year by CBK in response to complaints by customers of negative listing with CRB. A negative listing makes it nearly impossible for any borrower to take loan from another credit provider. Now, 2 years ago, David Sokoto took a bold step and used his savings and his auntie's land in Kiserian, Kajiado County to set up a mini mall, not using concrete but shipping container. Now, since then, he has been giving small businesses a home at 4,000 shillings a month. Mercy Milanoi tells us more.
I saw what the city council used to do in Nairobi, building these fabricated stalls on the roadsides, and then I thought, okay, which is the easiest way of doing it without having to look for material? And I went looking on the internet, and I saw containers being used as homes, I think, and then there as shops, small shops. This a mobile kitchen. There is a place I saw, I think it's somewhere in Australia. Somebody had a mobile kitchen, which was a container. So I thought, okay, the same concept can do in shops.
That was 2012, but Davis Sokoto got everything he needed to make his idea a reality in 2019. He invested close to 5 million shillings in setting up the business premises in Kiserian in the outskirts of Nairobi. Davis now has 44 stalls made out of shipping containers.
What I have here are 40-footers. A 40-footer is going from as much as 300K. That is the container without doing anything. So you can do that, bring them and have them cut on site, and everything is done on site. But for me, I went to Alpha Containers and told them I need stalls. We agreed on a price. They were selling for me about 580, 530 one container. I did the math, I needed 8. So I just gave them the money and they did everything. Transportation, like from Syokimau, it cost me about 35,000 shillings per truck. So these are 8 trucks that brought these containers.
Davis is among entrepreneurs who have joined a trend that started around 5 years ago. Today, containers are used to build stalls, offices, and even homes away from the traditional brick and mortar or the timber and iron sheets that used to be the materials of choice for the construction of kiosks. With the containers now available, the cost of putting up a semi-permanent structure are lower.
If a container costs around 300K, 320, so that will give you a rough estimate of about 200 or even 150. Because now this one, it's the company that did it for me, so that means they put even their markup in there. But if I was to do it personally, probably with the wiring and everything, around, it's that 200, around 200K. Yeah, because the wiring, if you want quality wires, they are not cheap. And also the labor that comes with it, and the people who are doing the welding, grinding, cutting, and fixing. For the floor, the containers come already with a wooden floor, which is, you don't have to do anything with it. unless if you're building a house. If you're building a house, that now putting in tiles or whatever you want to do with it. But for these stalls, I didn't do anything on the floor.
If you want to buy a container, you can either import or buy locally. And there has been a gradual increase in the number of containers coming into Kenya over the last 5 years. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, containers imports in 2015 to 2019 increased from 1 million units in 2015 to 1.4 million in 2019. There was a slowdown in 2020 because of the pandemic, and the Kenya Ports Authority reported this year that between January and March 2021, the Port of Mombasa witnessed increased volumes in container traffic, registering 389,515 of them against 340,812 in a similar period in 2020. Most imports are from China, followed by India, the UAE, Japan, Saudi Arabia, USA, and South Africa. And while some of these containers may find their way back out into the sea for exports, many remain back in Kenya. George Masila is an architect with the Fortunes Architect Limited. In his work across Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda, he has noted that the popularity of containers has not waned despite the increase in prices because of the shortage that came with a slowdown in shipping brought about by the pandemic.
20 foot right now is around 250,000 Kenya shillings. It's about 2,500. The price has spiked. Pre-COVID, we were buying them for about 180, 185. 40-foot container, we were getting them at about 250, 280. Now they're about 380. Because of COVID, it has affected a lot of logistics businesses, even manufacturing, even the demand. So they've become fewer in the market, thus a bit more expensive. But we're expecting the prices to stabilize. Containers, as we all know, transport all manner of things. Some could be transporting toxic material. Some could be transporting, items that are harmful to people's health. So it is important, even for the person who is bringing them in or choosing them, to be able to ask the right questions to the suppliers and find out exactly what they were used for before, and avoid containers that were transporting harmful or chemical originating materials.
You need to know what to watch out for when buying a container.
Always buy from people who are known to deal in containers, or go to an inland container depot and buy it from a company that does freight. Then there you're dealing with authentic people. But just don't go on the roadside and buy see a container there and say you want to buy. No, you're putting yourself at risk. Containers have logbooks, so by the time you're finishing your purchase, you should make sure that the person who is selling to you gives you a logbook.
The licensing authorities at the national and county level still view container setups as temporary structures. This means less levies compared to the many approvals needed to put up a building or a home. Conversion into homes has increasingly become a good retirement for containers that have reached their final destination or being retired. And there are interesting designs out there, like this one we found in Sagana. And with the increasing appetite for container, Masila says the demand can only go up.
It's quite exciting if you can carry or take your home whatever location you want. Mm-hmm. It's quite exciting, really, if you look at it that way. Yeah. Something to transport. To me, that flexibility is what today's world is all about. People are moving away from rigidity, getting to be as flexible as possible because the world is changing that way.
Now, whether you're looking to buy a container to set up an extra storage, put up a home, or even business premise, there's several things that you need to look out for. Apart from cost, there is need to ensure you get a quality container and one that will serve the intended purpose. Let's take a look.
One of the things that you need to consider when procuring a container is the size. Now, the sizes of the shipping container range from 40, 20 and 10 feet. However, the 40-footer is the most popular and it is versatile in size. Also, when purchasing a container, you need to know the delivery cost of transporting your container. Now, shipping containers, especially used ones, are quite heavy and cannot be loaded on one truck. So you need to find out if the cost of delivery is part of your purchase price or you need to pay for it separately. Now, very many people will be telling you that they're selling containers, but a good reputation of somebody who's selling you the container is paramount. Always deal with a company of good reputation and it is known for the business. Remember, a fair price and a good reputation are paramount in this business. When purchasing your container, make sure you inspect it yourself. And one of the ways of inspecting your container is stepping inside, closing all the doors and remain in darkness to watch out for any light or any cracks that come about. If any single light or there are any holes, that you should watch out for and make sure that it is fixed before you buy it. Also, especially if you're buying the container for storage purposes, be sure to look out for the door and also the locking mechanisms. Make sure that they are working. Look for dents in the roof that can collect water and eventually turn into a rust spot. While you're looking for your container, also check if it has been recently repainted, because even the ugliest container can be repainted to look like the most beautiful and new container. If a container has been freshly painted, this might be an attempt to cover up rust spots. Rust is not an issue if it is properly treated with the rust converter, but you will not be able to identify these spots until they bleed through the paint. Well, these are just a few tips to help you consider when you're buying a container. But also remember to do your proper due diligence before committing to buy one. My name is Mercy Milanoi and this is Moolah Insider.
Now, thank you, Mercy, for that detailed information on how you're supposed to identify and buy the correct shipping container. Please remember to log on to www.moolah.co.ke for these and more stories. Now, this brings us to the word of the week, and it's related to construction sector. It's called backfilling. Now, this is a process of refilling trenches or holes created during excavation, especially around foundations. Now, remember, you're watching Moolah Insider. Please remember to log on to www.moolah.co.ke for these and more stories. Now, about 5 years ago, Wallace Waiguru took a bold step and ventured into the unknown territories of running his own business. In Pursuit this week, we find out why he left his full-time paying job to do this. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Wallace, founder and designer of Eden Leather. We're an African brand that produces leather goods and accessories for both retail and corporate using locally sourced materials. Eden started in 2017 as a side hustle. At that particular point, I was employed. And I realized there was a need for a brand that focuses in leather that would appreciate and people would want to adapt with. And that's what really inspired me to start the business. I actually had to look and do my research and find out how the bags are being produced, how this kind of goods are produced, since it was something new for me, especially being in the creative industry for quite some time, but not into fashion. I remember I produced my first bag and people liked it, and people started to ask me about it, and I was like, you know what, let me start creating one item at a time. And here we are. This is our 4th year now. Starting Eden for me is something that is passion, and I can commit everything that I have to the business. I source all my raw materials from various parts of the country. Leather, would get it from Athi River, we get it from Sagana, we can get it from Thika. It depends with the tannery that we would have the leather itself. When it comes to our fittings, we usually use brass fittings, which is ideally made from brass, which is recycled brass. So we have craftsmen in Ongatorongai. When it comes to fabrics like canvas, we get from companies in Kenya who produce the canvases. We combine everything together and create a unique product. For me, quality is really, really crucial. The attentive to detail and the craftsmanship is really important for me. When I first started, actually, I had no machinery, I had no capital as such. So what I did was just a bit of savings. So what I did, I used to subcontract people to produce for me. I'll give them the designs, the patterns that they create for me. Then slowly by slowly, I started to buy one machine after the other, selling 2 items, try to save here and there. Now we're fortunate to have at least a couple of equipment that at least are able to create a product from from starting to end seamlessly. I took a loan when I was employed to fund the business itself, which for me was a move that I had to make. For me, definitely to go to the next level, because it reached a point I was like, I need to have my own space where I can create products with a team of people who are dedicated to producing it. It really helped me to push myself to the next level. If there's a capacity of for banks to be able to assist people to even make their business plans better, I think for me it would be a win. 80% of our clients are through social media. All our inquiries are usually done from social media. So what happens basically most of the time, I create a product, I take a photo of it, I upload it online, and people start inquiring about it. Well, our plan is to now adopt into a kind of a walk-in setting, which was basically our strategy for this year. Most of our clients usually inquire online. We design the products for them and we deliver for them. I remember when I first started, when I used to tell people I've created this product, have been produced in Kenya, people wouldn't believe it. It was a really hard sell. But I think people are becoming more open, and people are becoming proud of Kenyan-made products. I envision myself exporting to the Western world, but of course there are a couple of challenges that we go through, especially as SMEs. One is, okay, how do you connect yourself to people in the Western world, and basically getting a link, basically a link, or I don't know, do I call it an agency of some sort that can connect you with clients in the Western world and be able to make business with them. When COVID-19 came, it actually caught us unaware, especially us being more or less like a luxury brand, because people who buy products either to use them socially. So we had to really adapt. So what we had to do first is to adapt into producing essential products. So we started producing masks, 3-play masks, which we actually helped us to to sustain ourselves during this process. We're actually been doing protective clear films for taxis, just protect the driver from the client. So just trying to adapt into producing essential products and PPEs. In the next couple of years, being an African brand, with having different outlets within Africa, my model would be to have small workshops where people can learn the craft itself, and also get empowered and at least also earn an income from it in different parts of Africa. Safaricom have given us a couple of opportunities to work with them, and we're really humbled, and for us was something that we are always honored to have participated in creating merchandise for them. Consistency. I think being consistent with what you're doing every day really pushes you to the next level. Every day I learn something new, but being consistent about it and doing it again and perfecting it, for me, is what I can advise someone. The rest of the things just follow in.
Now, Wallace Waiguru's story shows you that you can start anything and create an empire of your own. Now let's take a look at the leading indicators this week, starting with the stocks and the foreign exchange. Now we look at the prices of the basic commodities this week. That's all we had for you this week, and remember to log on to www.moolah.co.ke for these and more stories. My name is Margaret Wahito. See you next week.